Hi everyone, it is Monday night, so of course it is time for Helen's Focus for the week. And I wanted to talk to you tonight about how gamifying what it is that you've got to get done can actually help get it done, can increase your productivity. So first of all, of course, I need to tell you what gamify means if you're not familiar with that term. So it is to make it into a game, to make it fun. And of course, gamification is this whole branch, and I'm certainly no expert, but I know that it's a whole branch of IT and other bits to it that in terms of games that our kids are probably on all the time and maybe even us or partners or whatever. But, you know, they're obviously so popular these days. And the part of the reason is because they become addictive. And the whole term of gamify, which is actually a verb now, gamification is a noun that probably was, I'm guessing, only recently added to the dictionary, and the same with gamify. If we can somehow make what it is that we want to get done addictive, inverted commas, not in a negative way, in a positive way, then we are more likely perhaps to get it done. So we can borrow some of the principles from gamification to, as I said, us wanting to improve our productivity. So if I give you an example of, hello Kay, lovely to see you, of some examples where that could happen. So think of something that you might think is really boring and you know you have to do it. And otherwise, why would you be doing it? As in, you know, it's going to have some benefit for you. It could be everyday things like checking, doing, you know, the vacuuming or something like that. Or it could be something related, definitely something related to your business and it will tend to be things that are repeated, pretty regular things. And that's often where the boredom can come into it. Or it could be using the example of establishing an exercise habit. So what can happen with that is that you often, if I use the example of the exercise habit, often we start with a lot of motivation or willpower. We think, that's it, I'm going to walk every day for the rest of my life. I'm going to do it, come hail, shine, no excuses, that's it, I'm committed, I know I need to do it, I know why, etc. And what happens usually is that we are pretty committed and we often will get a good run initially. Maybe the first week, maybe the first month, maybe even a couple of months, although usually be a bit earlier than that. And what happens then is our willpower tends to actually reduce. And they, in terms of psychology, they've realized that willpower is like a muscle in that it's like doing a whole lot of repetitions with weights. You start off fine, and then, of course, the more repetitions you're doing, the more the muscle tires, and then to the point where maybe you're not doing it. So our willpower is a little bit like that. We start full of energy, fully committed, really excited, and we can only sustain that for a short while. And as I said before, that time will vary, but it's not a really long time. So what we have to do is to think of what are some other ways that we can actually maintain our motivation to actually be able to continue to do these things. So it might be that, and certainly I know I've talked about this before, about the importance of having your why, your big picture, your big reason, big Y as in WHY for doing things, and remembering that every day or every time that you need to be doing this thing. Also, accountability is a really big motivator for a lot of us as well. Accountability internally in terms of whether it meets our values. If what we're wanting to get done is a high value, then that is, we're more likely to, if we are more values oriented, it will actually mean that we can get it done. We can get the motivation we need to get it done. And accountability, of course, can be external with other people. And another way is this gamification. So using the example of going for a walk, what I can suggest that you can do if you're interested in trying this is maybe using your diary or a calendar. Something like that can be really useful, just in terms of the explanation of each day that you do it from the time that you start, and especially a calendar that's on the wall. You want it somewhere that you see it frequently. When you have done it, and that's such a good feeling, isn't it? When because of obviously the value of exercise, but secondly, that's like, I really wanted to do this and I've done it. That's great. Whoa, go me. And you can actually then, what can be good is getting something, this is where the gamification comes in, getting something colourful in particular, like a sticker. And you can get your little round ones, from the newsagents, or get fancy ones. Or you might, if you like drawing, you can draw something that's like a bit of a picture or whatever, something that marks over especially if it's a calendar, over the day for that. Or you can, as I said, use it in your diary. Depending if you use electronic diary management, you might be able to find there's some of the programs have little stickers that you can add. Something that commemorates and signifies that you've completed that thing that day. And then the next time that you go for your walk, you do it again. Then the next time, and actually really look at it each time that you've completed, I'm using the example of the walk, and you can start to see, particularly if you're looking at like a weekly or a monthly view, you can start to see all these pretty pictures or stickers or whatever they are. And what happens is our brain actually likes that because we feel really good. We've rewarded ourselves, so to speak, by using those colors, the stickers, the drawings, whatever they are. And that is almost like a bit of a dopamine hit. It's like putting, a little something, a little sugar and spice is what's coming to my mind in terms of, oh, I did that. And what can happen, which is really, really the clever thing, is that if we do this enough, and then we get to a day that we think, oh, I'm tired, I don't feel like that. Oh, I've got so much to do, I don't have time to go for a walk or whatever. But we actually see that the week hasn't been completed, or the month, for instance, and often it can trigger us to think, actually, I want to get another sticker. I'm almost at the end of the week. I've done 6 days out of 7, for instance, or whatever it is. However many days that you obviously want to be doing whatever the thing is that you want to develop the habit for. Or I've done almost the month. There's only a few more days or a week of the month left. I can keep going. I can keep going, because psychologically we want to complete things. Most of us are very much motivated by what they call, in psychological terms, open loops. In other words, things that aren't completed. In other words, they're not closed. They're not a closed loop. So this idea of charting or tracking, you doing these things, and then if you feel like you, for whatever reason, don't feel like it or whatever, as I was saying, it can often be a motivator to keep actually doing it, so that you keep the continuous action that you're doing and actually finish that week or that month or whatever it might be. And it can be a really great motivator. And then at the end of the week or the month, you can actually choose to do something and decide to do something that's a little more of a treat. So the more rewards we give ourselves and make it in this respect a game, the more our motivation is to keep doing it. And it's a lot more fun. I mean, especially if it's something like, I actually really enjoy going for walks, but if it's something, as I said, around the house, like, I don't know, whether it's washing the car, for instance, thinking it's, I don't like, for me personally, I don't like doing it that much. So I can actually use that. And let's say I want to do it once a week, and I can plot that in my calendar or my diary or whatever, and make sure that I set myself with the reward when I've actually done it, let's say every week over a month or something like that. And seeing it, making sure that you see it in your diary or your calendar is a really important thing, because it's that visual cue each time, that visual reminder that you want to close that loop and get that week done, or that month, or whatever. Another thing that you can do to gamify is also, most of us, I think, innately, probably from ancestral days, have some degree of competition, of competitiveness. And so you can actually, and this is up to you if you want to try it, but it might be something that you might want to, is perhaps get a buddy up with somebody. You both nominate what it is that you want to get done. So you've got the external accountability to this other person to be saying, that you're going to have to say to them at some point whether you did the thing or not. And often that's a motivator in itself, because we can tell ourselves so many stories, and we can with other people, but it's usually a little bit harder to do that. And what you can do is take a snapshot, take a photo of your calendar when you've got your week completed, and send it to them, and they will do it vice versa. And then having somebody else to do it with means you can cheer each other on and, yay, and all that sort of thing. And there's that friendly competition, thinking, oh, I've got to do that walk today, or whatever it is, because, Mary Jo's going to be doing her thing, and I've got to keep up with doing my thing. I don't want to feel like I'm falling behind and losing out, or whatever it might be. Hello, Benetta. Lovely to see you, darling. So, all of that can also be a great way to gamify getting things done. I was just saying then, Benetta, about buddying up with somebody, and the idea of marking off calendars and sharing it with each other. There are also, and that actually, I was just going to say, that actually reminds me of what I used to do with my kids, with getting them to do chores. And maybe you've done this yourselves, anyone watching, if you've got children, is I don't know about you, but I would put up on the fridge the table or the chart. And I've got 2 kids, so when they were younger, and so they would have each of their names and their chores, although that's a terrible, yucky word, but jobs they had to do around home. And so they would again get the big tick, or again a sticker or something. And the one who did them the first one to do them would then get something special at the end. And yeah, I did this at school when the kids had to take reading books home. Oh yes, of course, you're a teacher, Kay. Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking you find that actually motivates kids, because kids love to play games. And you'd be really good at doing this. One boy learned a desire for treading through this system. Yeah, because that's our motivation, is the fun, the dopamine hit. And as I said, so yeah, my kids would, it was off. I tell you what, it was the only time my son would, I think one of the things was unstacking the dishwasher or something, and he did not like that. But he sped up when he knew that there was some, reward at the end of it. So we can sort of do that ourselves, as I said, whether it's with an accountability buddy, and that can be the equivalent of us competing in a lovely, friendly way, and learning to read, oh, right, I get you. Now it makes more sense. Learning to, yeah. And I was saying, Benetta, before about the use of stickers and that sort of thing, when you do something on a calendar and you want to then finish the week and the month, which is also a really good motivator. And another one you can do is there are certain apps on your phone or something, and you may or may not want to do this, but that are available that you can publicly, inverted commas, using this app, actually identify and proclaim, so to speak, what you're going to be doing. And then you have to check in when you've done it. And it gets sort of, it can be in almost like a message with a whole thread, a message thread with other people. So there's a whole lot of other people there, and they're doing the same thing as well. And as I said before, the fact that we don't want to be publicly feeling shamed, inverted commas, from the point of view of, oh, I didn't do it. And so it can be a great way to get the accountability and also the rewards. And some of these apps, which are, it's just brilliant, can coach you along the way and send you reminders, and they're like motivational. I know when I was jogging a lot more than I do now, I would have an app that would actually at the end of the run, I think at the start when I would get it going, it would send me motivational little phrases, you can do this, Helen, and all this sort of stuff. And it actually helps. I believe it does. And from a psychological point of view, it does. It gets us into the right frame of mind. And at the end of it was that, because you could track it, was, all this like high five and whatever else. So that's something that I'm hoping that might stimulate you to think about how you can approach your things that you've got to do, especially if they're things that you might want to put off, that, as I said before, that you think are boring, and making them into a game as best you can. Cute. Yeah, it is cute, but hey, look, if it works. And I was saying right at the start that it's actually based on gamification with, a lot of the video games, computer games that kids play, and maybe adults, and it's the, as I was saying, the addictiveness that is what often, because then they want to go to the next level, then the next level, then the next level. And that's something that possibly you can build into a game for yourself in regards to whatever it is that you're working on, your to-dos that you want to get done. So I will leave it there. I just thought that was something that you might be interested in trying. I'm a huge believer that productivity shouldn't be boring, because why else? We're just not going to want to do it then. Let's make it fun. Let's use the strengths or the magic, so to speak, of psychology to actually motivate us and get things done. And if it works, that's great. So if either of you or anybody else who's watching the replay want to give it a go, then obviously that's up to you. And if you do, let me know how you go in the comments below. I've definitely used it for, that's why I thought of the example of the walking habit, to get that done. And it's such a good feeling. It is. There's the dopamine. It definitely works. So why not use it for something good? All right. I will love you and leave you, and see you next time. Bye for now.